liked it, which is really, really exciting. I saw the title card, which looked great. I got really emotional hearing everybody's reactions to it, which was really, really incredible. And so I feel very blessed to be a part of something that seems to be very important to a lot of people.
Snow White is on its way to becoming one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Have you ever had a relationship gone sour only for that person to pop up back in your life and be instantly reminded of why you loathe their very existence? Because that's exactly what happened when, after months of silence, Disney dropped the trailer to this lowly anticipated future flop. According to an analysis of a recently released findings, Forbes reported that Disney needs Snow White to gross at least $336.4 million just to break even. Seeing as how the comments to the new trailer are more negative than your parents' opinion of you as an adult, and that dislike button was smashed more than an OF model trying to make rent, I'd say Disney has an uphill battle from now until 2025, when Snow White is supposed to be finally released. But is all this backlash justified? Why are a bunch of grown adults arguing on the internet about a kids' movie? Simple. Because this movie isn't just for kids, and anyone that says that it is being completely disingenuous. This movie, like all other live-action remakes, is targeted towards millennials who grew up during the Disney Renaissance period that lasted from 1989 to 1999. Yes, a lot of these people have children they'll be taking to the movies so they can enjoy it together. But these remakes are pure nostalgia bait. Sure, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves was released in 1937, but it released on VHS for the first time in 1994. For those that don't know what a VHS is, it's an acronym for Video Home System, and it was a giant tape that you would stick into a device called a VCR that would play this tape that you probably rented from a little store called Blockbuster. If you weren't there, you missed out. But to be honest, in the case of Disney movies, like Snow White, people actually bought these for their kids with their hard-earned cash and added them to a collection of other Disney classics. And the Snow White VHS in particular retailed for $26.99 in 1994. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $57 USD. And you better believe these little girls across America watched these tapes until they eventually got stuck in the VCR and you had to get a screwdriver and... Anyway, the point is, sure, kids are definitely going to watch this movie, but they're not nearly as emotionally invested as their parents. They won't understand until one day they turn on Disney Plus in the future, if they don't go bankrupt by then, and they see a live-action version of Bluey being played by a horrible rendition of their beloved childhood heroine that's the wrong shade of blue and looks like it was made on Microsoft Paint. Then they'll understand. So why all the hate for the upcoming Snow White film? Well, the short answer is, it seems like it's gonna suck. The more nuanced answer is what I'll be going over for in the rest of this video. So sit back, relax, and watch me surgically dissect this live-action cash grab like I'm about to perform a botched BBL. Let's start with the fairest of them all. This is Rachel Zegler, who will be playing the protagonist in the Snow White movie and the antagonist in this video essay. Why is she the antagonist? Because for whatever reason, Rachel Zegler has decided to make herself one of the most insufferable people in Hollywood while simultaneously playing the part of one of Disney's most beloved iconic figures. The dichotomy of a Disney princess. So what about her makes her insufferable exactly? Is she a bad person? Probably not. Is she the sole reason for this new modern take on Snow White? No. She's just an actress playing the part of what was written in a script that's been rewritten countless times. What makes her insufferable is her condescending tone when referring to the animated Snow White and the Seven Dwarves.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. So we didn't do that this time.
Does she even like Snow White? Why did she do this movie? Maybe she just needed a job. After all, that's why she took the role in Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
What made you want to step into this world of DC heroes? I needed a job. I'm being so serious. I mean, a lot of people keep asking me. Hi, Adam. My agent's over there. Hi, Ken, my lawyer.
The truth is, Rachel Zegler started getting backlash as soon as she was cast as Snow White. One of the most iconic lines from Snow White in both the original Brothers Grimm version and the 1937 Disney animation is that she had skin as white as snow.
Skin white as snow.
Snow White.
Obviously, there was backlash from people saying casting Zegler, who's Colombian and Polish, strays too far from the source material. And although it's nothing new for live-action adaptations to make changes in order for a movie to flow better or make more sense than it would in a book, in this case, the name of the movie is Snow White. Snow White. Zegler pushed back against the criticism and even iterated how Snow White, or Blancanieves, is adored in Spanish-speaking countries. Fine, let's just concede this point for the time being and just let Snow White be played by someone who looks like Rachel Zegler. If Snow White is so adored in Spanish-speaking countries and she knows this, why? Why is she so keen on changing the story from a love story to this modern feminist take that no one asked for, not even feminists?
She's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Rachel Zegler even admitted that she never liked Snow White, so when she makes snide comments about it being outdated and weird to fans of the original, who again are the main target audience for this film, it feels like someone coming in and hijacking this and spitting on something that they love. For me, this would be like WWE remaking the NWO with some guy that never liked wrestling, and instead of trying to take over WCW, it would just be a modern spin of them trying to make WCW more inclusive for marginalized groups. No one wants to see that. The same way I want to see NWO clash with Sting, people just want to watch Snow White and see a good old-fashioned love story where Snow White is chased by an evil, jealous queen, has a whimsical adventure with lovable dwarfs, and gets saved by the prince. Why can't Disney just deliver what people want? Why is this so hard for them? Why do they constantly shoot themselves in the foot? Snow White fans deserve their prince. Wait, what's that? Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. There's no prince in this version of Snow White. That's right, Snow White don't need no man. Well, aside from the seven dwarves who give her sanctuary, and in exchange she, well, from the looks of it in the upcoming movie, she doesn't really do anything. More on that later. The prince is no longer. So what happened? Did he die in battle? Did he ride off into the sunset in his little red Corvette? Maybe he fled to America so he didn't have to spend holidays with his family. No, much worse than all of those scenarios, the prince is being replaced by Jonathan.
What? What name? What name? Who are you, Seal?
Jonathan is Snow White's new love interest, being played by Andrew Burnham, who I've been told is a great dude.
Andrew Burnham, great dude.
I couldn't help but feel bad when I saw that Burnham had so much praise for Rachel Zegler. In an interview with a publication named Man About Town, Burnham said, "I think Rachel Zegler is truly a once-in-a-generation talent, and I hope people will be as moved by what she did as I was." Look, I'll be honest, I wasn't familiar with Andrew Burnham before researching this video. For whatever reason, I thought he was like one of those actors that we see in American films, and he turns out to be British. But nope, it turns out he's from Rhode Island and has a master's degree in fine arts from Yale University.
He was part of that whole Yale thing.
Yale thing?
Yeah, Yale thing.
What do you mean, Yale thing?
Anyway, I felt bad because aside from being a great dude, Zegler pretty much made it seem like Andrew Burnup's contribution to the film wasn't important in the slightest.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Ouch. Oh well, sorry Johnny boy. Maybe the other characters will make more sense. Let's shift our focus to the spiteful, evil queen. A vile woman so wrapped in her own narcissism that she's forced to use witchcraft in order to bring the subject of her envy to her inevitable death. Why? Because she's no longer the fairest in the land. Okay, Disney's job here is to cast the perfect actress who embodies the driving force behind this story of obsession over Snow White's beauty. Enter Gal Gadot? Yeah, Gal Gadot. One of the most gorgeous people in Hollywood. Let's cast her to be envious of Rachel Zegler's beauty. Honestly, this is less believable than the horrible CGI in this film. First and foremost, let me preface this by saying Rachel Zegler is a very pretty girl. It would be totally unfair for me to sit here and say she's ugly in any way, shape, or form. That said, I know beauty is completely subjective, but I mean, come on. I mean, look at her. This is a total miscast, maybe even more egregious than Snow White's casting. I don't care if Gal Gadot puts on a Meryl Streep level performance, she won't. I'm not buying that Gal Gadot is jealous of Rachel Zegler's beauty. If I was the evil queen, I would just simply tell the mirror on the wall it was wrong, that Snow White was just some homeschooled jungle freak.
Who's a less hot version of me. Yeah.
I've seen Gal Gadot in 3 things: Fast and Furious, Wonder Woman, and that god-awful Read the Room Next Time John Lennon Imagine cover during COVID.
Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try.
No hell below us.
Cringe. She is absolutely striking and hasn't seemed to age a day from when I first saw her on the big screen in 2009. The queen should be played by someone who's beautiful but understandably has their best days behind them, like whatever the female version of Tom Cruise is. And I'll grant you this, maybe fairest of them all isn't just about vanity and more about virtue, and beauty is only skin deep, blah 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 blah. Fine. But now everyone's gonna watch the film and have these Rachel Zegler interviews in their head, so that doesn't work either. But since we're taking creative liberties, why not just scrap the whole envious evil queen angle and make this a whole Middle Eastern conflict beef, because it has to be so awkward between Rachel Zegler, who posted Free Palestine on X right after the trailer dropped, to work with and make appearances with Gal Gadot, who's an Israeli and has been vocal about her support for Israel. This isn't like when people disagree about who's better between Jordan and LeBron. This has to create quite a level of tension between the two that's palpable. In fact, I can't even think of anything more awkward other than the computer-generated imagery, CGI for the layman, that was used for the 7 Dwarves. Yes, even dopey. I'll get to that in a sec. First, let's talk about Peter Dinklage. Peter Dinklage, who represents all dwarves. He was on the Mark Maron podcast and expressed how he didn't understand how Disney could be so progressive in one way, and by that he means hiring a Latin American actress to play Snow White, while still being what he considers regressive by having dwarves depicted the way they are in Snow White and the 7 Dwarves.
Take a step back and look at what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I know. That makes no sense to me.
You're
progressive in one way, but you're still making that backward story of 7 dwarves living in a cave. What the are you doing, man?
First of all, they didn't live in a cave. They lived in a house. They were minors. So what exactly does he want? How do you tell the story of Snow White and put a progressive spin on the 7 Dwarves? Should they all live in a gated community in Boca Raton? Apparently, Disney got Tyrion Lannister mixed up with Daenerys Targaryen because they bent the knee immediately. They released a statement shortly after Dinklage's comments and expressed how they wanted to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film and were taking a different approach after consulting with the dwarfism community. I'm gonna go ahead and guess they didn't actually consult with anyone, because there is absolutely no way they consulted with the dwarfism community and came to the grandiose idea of making Sneezy, Sleepy, Happy, Doc, Grumpy, Dopey, and Bashful CGI characters. That's right, instead of casting actual little people who are professional actors in dire need of work, Disney said screw it, let's just make them on a computer. Now that is progressive. When we first caught wind of Snow White, we saw a picture of what was assumed to be the 7 dwarves. And it was, look, I'll be honest, I'm usually never at a loss for words, but I legitimately don't know how to describe this group of... Look, I don't know. I do know what Disney was going for. They wanted a diverse group of people because they believe in inclusivity and all that jazz, but guess what? All those people got replaced. Yes, even the dwarf. I just know that guy absolutely loathes Peter Dinklage. Like, I just imagine him working out in his garage, violently bench pressing while the weights clash against the bar, and he's not even counting the reps because the only thing going on in his mind is the severe world star level beating he wants to put on Peter Dinklage after losing his job to a digital ripoff. And let's be honest, the computer-generated dwarves are weird.
Weird.
And they look even more unnatural when they're next to a real person. The only good thing about kids being desensitized to everything these days is they won't go home with nightmares after watching this. It looks so bad in that teaser that Disney dropped. And as of the making of this video, the dislikes on that trailer are in the low to mid 90% range. And that's most likely with Disney trying to pump out artificial likes to make it seem like people actually want to see this cinematic train wreck. But it's not just the bad CGI dwarves. The animals look just as awful, if not worse. Seriously, give this thing the Bambi mother treatment and just put it out of its misery. That's terrible. And then there's our antagonist.
If I'm going to stand there 18 hours in a dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that it is streamed online.
Rachel Zegler just doesn't possess Snow White's grace and aura. In the animated adaptation, Snow White comes off as friendly and appreciative, but this new version has this condescending undertone, like she's above helping and asserts herself as some kind of unwanted leader in a house where she's the guest. So why doesn't Disney just put this whole project out to pasture? Everyone's hated it since day one. It's gone through a multitude of rewrites and reshoots in hopes of salvaging this thing. The truth is, the only way to save this movie is putting together a documentary using the behind-the-scenes footage a la Tropic Thunder. Why not just Batgirl this thing and pretend it never happened? Well, because it's probably too late. When Batgirl got scrapped, it was a $90 million project that was able to be used as a tax write-off. And it was decided that releasing the movie, which was only set to release on Max and not a theatrical release like Snow White, would do more harm to the already fragile DC movie franchise. Snow White is a little different. I mentioned earlier it would need to make over $336 million just to break even, and that's because the budget for this thing, not including the advertising, was $209 million. Advertising budgets are usually around half of what the budget is, and with the amount of face saving this movie needs, I'm sure it'll need way more than that. I wouldn't be surprised if Disney ended up spending north of $400 million on this thing just for it to meet a fate worse than the Marvels. Luckily, Deadpool and Wolverine was a massive success, but these days, those kind of releases are becoming more of an anomaly for Disney. These films are getting more and more expensive to make, and when they bomb, It's a tough pill to swallow, but hey, it's
Hollywood, baby.